Welcome back. Now, India has withstood the provocation and is pushing to stand its ground and not take sides in this war. And I believe as well that India should look out for itself. India did not start this war. India is not responsible for stopping this war. The responsibility is with the United States of America, the NATO countries, and Russia. Now, from abstaining on voting on the Russian aggression to speaking to all sides and condemning the killings, India's position has been spot on. It works for India's national interest. Let's debate.
Despite the provocation from the West, India has maintained a balanced position. India not only abstained from voting against Russia in the United Nations Security Council, but it has been asking for a peaceful resolve through dialogue.
We are asking, pleading the support of India. India is the powerful global player.
Ukraine and the West have been trying to push India to take a stand, asking Prime Minister Modi to stand by Ukraine and against Russia. But should India do that?
It takes time, and when you have, in the case of Russia and President Putin's Russia, a country that is prepared to go to excessive means to achieve its results, it is a real challenge.
India is equally concerned about the evacuations of thousands of students who are stuck in Ukraine.
ऑपरेशन गंगा के तहत कई हजार नागरिकों को वहां से देश वापस लाया जा चुका है.
That the situation in Ukraine has worsened further since the Council last convened on this matter. An immediate cessation of violence and end to all hostilities are essential.
India has not only raised concerns about the humanitarian crisis inside Ukraine undergoing war, but it has also maintained its tradition and ties with Russia.
And from the Indian side on this debate, we have Professor Brahma Chelani, General G.D. Bakshi, Captain Alok Bansal of the India Foundation, and Jitendra Kumar Ocha, a geopolitical expert from Delhi. From Washington, D.C., I have Charles Kupchan, who's Senior Fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations, Okim Bitalik, a former German ambassador to NATO and former National Security Advisor to the German Chancellor, Ulia Klemenko, Ukrainian Member of Parliament, and Alan Sked. He's a Professor Emeritus of International History at the LSE. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us. I'd like to start with Charles. Charles, beginning with you today, what is your view on India's position so far on this?
I think that India's position becomes less and less comfortable over time because Russia is carrying out war crimes. Russia is now encircling cities. We're seeing over 1 million Ukrainians displaced heading across the border. The suffering will only increase as Russia tries to topple the government and besiege Kyiv. And who knows, maybe they'll go all the way to the border with Poland. And I understand that that India has longstanding relations with Russia, but I do think India does not want to end up on the wrong side of history. This is an unprovoked war of aggression that is killing many thousands of people, Ukrainians and Russians alike. And I think it behooves India, a democracy, a country that expresses support for values, for humanitarian aspirations, to get off the fence. Keep in mind that 141 nations in the UN General Assembly voted to condemn Russia's attack on Ukraine. Where's India?
Brahma.
Well, I should let Charles know that the vast majority of humanity has taken a neutral or nuanced stance. Don't look at the number of states. Many states are tiny. Look at the proportion of the world population that has refused to take sides in a conflict that's hardly unprovoked. The Russian aggression, as well as the earlier annexation of Crimea, did not happen in a vacuum. There is a particular pattern of action, counteraction, that has been in motion for a number of years. India has made it very clear on whose side it is.
India is on its own side. And it makes sense for a country like India to strategically hedge. As we know, strategic hedging demands a
diversified portfolio.
Better.
India cannot afford to put all its eggs in one basket. If it burns its bridges with Moscow, it'll become totally dependent on America, whose unpredictability is legendary.
Yeah.
Why would India narrow its strategic leeway, especially in a conflict in which both sides have engaged in provocations? India needs both the US and Russia to contain China. Right now, India is facing its own aggression, a Chinese aggression. And President Biden won't even open his mouth on that aggression. He doesn't say a word on that aggression. No Western leader has spoken a word on that aggression against India. And yet they want India to side with the West against Russia. That's a very unfair expectation.
No,
in fact, India's position at home enjoys bipartisan support. Even the opposition parties in India have supported the government's decision to abstain from the UN votes. So, make no mistake, India is not sitting on the fence. India has taken a very clear position.
No.
And if this war in this war in Ukraine were to worsen or even to widen, India's concerns will only heighten. India will not be drawn into a conflict that is not of its making. It has not contributed to that conflict, and it has repeatedly urged all sides to end the violence.
I just want to add one point here. You see, Charles, I think across especially the United States of America and in UK, there is a lot of there's a lot of strong views about India's position on this. And I just want to say it bluntly that, America is a very, 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 very unreliable ally. Very unreliable ally. And the Americans and the American alliance feels that countries like India should string along. Now, India has become a much bigger country, a more powerful country, a more influential country. We're one of the world's biggest economies, world's biggest markets, and we have painful memories, Charles. When we had 2 years of severe drought, I'm saying in the 60s, we desperately needed food grain. When India desperately needed food grain, what did America do? America said, oh, you criticized American bombings at Hanoi? We killed people in Hanoi. You criticized us? Haiphong, Vietnam War. You criticized our killing of Vietnamese? How dare you criticize our massacre of Vietnamese? We will stop the food grain exports to India. This was the way America treated India. It's a reality. And now the same America says, you have to go along with us. So, you know, there's an irony here, and I want to bring in Professor Alan Sked on this, that history has come back to bite the Western alliance in a way, hasn't it? Professor Sked.
No, I think India's been ridiculous, quite frankly. I mean, India wasn't asked to vote on the past about American-Indian relations. She had a simple task, either to condemn or not to condemn imperialist aggression of the worst kind, unprecedented in Europe since 1945, by Russia against a peaceful state next door called Ukraine. Ukraine hadn't threatened Russia with massive invasion and mass carpet bombing and attacks on her nuclear facilities. All that's happened one way. And India was in the United Nations asked to condemn such outrageous behavior, nothing to do with past American policy. This was a simple moral question.
No.
Do you accept that the heinous invasion of a peaceful next-door neighbor should be condemned or not? And everybody in the world, apart from India, China, and the United Arab Emirates, God knows, not a very good company to be in, everyone saw the moral issue and just said, yes, we condemn it.
Professor Sked,
it had nothing to do with geopolitics. It was a simple decision to condemn an act of violence on a huge scale against a peaceful neighbor.
Okay.
Why India invents all these other background noises in order to depart from the vast majority of world opinion, I don't know. But it doesn't do India's reputation any good. It undermines their reputation to be a world democracy.
Really?
And I'm afraid
I think Professor Sked, Professor Sked, if I may respond by that statement, you are therefore also saying that the United States of America does not deserve to be called a democracy, because I can give you umpteen examples.
I'm not interested in the United States.
But see, you said, allow me to counter you. Allow me to counter you with elaborate fact, in fact. Professor, may I give you a country perspective? You see, no, not at all.
Nothing to do with it.
No, okay, so Professor Sked,
to justify your lack of moral spunk.
Okay, can I just respond to you, if I may? 1 second, please. 1 second. You are using the phrase moral spunk. Now, you know, when thousands of militiamen of Arab descent were operating, and when there was a genocide, the Darfur genocide, you speak about the moral issue, so I bring you directly to the moral issue. Where was that moral outrage when you say Western democracies have moral outrage when women are being raped? When thousands of women, tens of thousands of women are pulled out of their homes, when they are raped, murdered, looted? At that point of time, there was a UN Security Council resolution authorizing the referral of Darfur atrocities to the International Criminal Court. There was a genocide. Hundreds of thousands of women were raped and murdered. There was a genocide. What did the United States of America do? It abstained. It abstained. Now you don't want to hear that. I ask you, no, you don't want to hear that. Why don't you want to hear it? No, is what I'm saying very difficult to digest? Is what I'm saying, I'm not saying, I'm asking you, no, you bring a moral argument, when it is convenient to you, Professor Sked. You don't want to listen to the moral argument when it is inconvenient to you. I bring you the inconvenient truth tonight, because all I'm saying tonight is, you looked out for what you thought, you linked your morality to your geopolitical and your military advantage.
In front of India was the present danger to the Western system and to democracy of a heinous invasion of a neighboring state.
No, you are, Professor Sked, I'll give you one more example. Let's talk. Okay, I'll give you one more example, but
the
debate is not with me.
Present invasion of Ukraine. You didn't do it. You didn't have the guts to do it.
We won't do your
stayed on the
bidding. Why
side
should
of
we?
China and the United Arab Emirates.
Okay,
not
Professor
exactly
Scared, I'll tell you one thing. No, 1 minute, GD Bakshi, I'll tell you. Professor Scared. No, 1 minute. I'll tell you one thing. You have the guts, go fight Russia. Don't shoot off the shoulders of Ukrainians. You don't have the guts. You don't have the guts to take them on directly. You shoot off the shoulders of the Ukrainians. You compromise on morality across the world, across decades. And when the question is being thrown back at you, only outrage. General Bakshi will respond to you tonight, sir. Let me tell you, we have the spunk and the courage, but you don't have the ability to take my question. No, you started World War III, you started World War II, you're profiting, your companies are profiting from the war.
Professor, with your...
GD Bakshi is on the debate, ladies and gentlemen. GD Bakshi.
Professor, can somebody else express an opinion? Thank you, sir. This is a debate, I thought, not a monologue or a harangue. Thank you, sir. Can I, Professor? Thank you for the courtesy. Thank you. Professor, you know, in Bangladesh, 3 million Bangladeshis were killed, 1 million Bangladeshi women were raped, 10 million Bangladeshis were driven out into India as refugees.
Where was your moral spunk then?
We didn't hear a word of moral outrage then. To the contrary. You're the full argument, Professor. Come on.
Along with the 7th Fleet. It's all irrelevant. Stop trying to judge.
Along with the 7th Fleet.
To justify.
Professor Saab, I heard you with silence. I heard you with courtesy. Hear the full argument. I mean, don't feel so nervous. Don't feel so nervous that you have to speak constantly.
You were asked to condemn.
Just hear the other side. You know, Professor, what was it when you attacked Iraq? 40 days of non-stop bombing. That was not invasion. What was it when you attacked Yugoslavia? 80 days of non-stop bombing. That was not invasion. That was not atrocities. That was not attacks on the civilian population and infrastructure. What about Libya? What about Syria? This is a very interesting.
I find this very interesting that
what you do,
General, I find it very interesting that the professor doesn't want to hear you. No, 1 second. See, Professor, I'll tell you one thing. In any civilized debate, it is extremely important that if the other side presents a very strong point of view, you must have the moral spunk and courage to listen to it, and then obviously the intellectual canvas to respond to it. I request you, sir, please do not respond by speaking over the other individual. This is not the way to debate. Please allow the other side to present its point of view. However, since you broke that rule, I'll tell you one thing to counter your argument about small countries. Professor Sked says this is about big countries being bad to small countries, to which I give a simple answer. Captain Alok Bansal is on the debate. I say Serbia was a small country. The United States of America was a big country. And the United States of America, which talks about territorial integrity, right, happily rejected the territorial integrity of Serbia to recognize Kosovo because it was convenient. Now you refuse to recognize the Donetsk People's Republic because it is strategically unhelpful to do so. So don't tell me about big countries and small countries, and I'm telling you things that happened a few years back. I'm not going back a century. So that's my response to you. I'd like to hear other views as well.
At the time of Kosovo, I objected to what the Americans were doing. I object to what India's doing today, which is giving succor to an imperialist lunatic.
No, let me clarify, Professor. First thing, when you talk of big country and small country, we saw a naked aggression against one of the tiniest country. Grenada was invaded by United States. If you go back to history and you look at how invasions are. As far as the present conflict is concerned, we need to also understand how West and NATO have aggravated Russia's insecurities. When Soviet Union disintegrated, an assurance was given that the NATO would expand eastward. That assurance was not kept. In fact, the very raison d'etre of NATO after the disintegration of Soviet Union and Warsaw Pact did not exist. So why keep an organization that threatens somebody else? Now, what happened with Russia and Ukraine is similar to what happened with US and Cuba during the Cuban crisis. So isn't it something for which the West also should take certain amount of responsibility for threatening Russia, for creating a situation where Russia had to intervene? So, and secondly, humanitarian crisis which is being projected is also being projected by the Western media, which to my mind to some extent is doctored at this juncture, probably giving a slightly flawed projection of things which are happening. Of course, some of it could be right. And India has maintained a neutral stance because that neutral stance is essential, because if peace has to be brought in, both sides have to come to some amount of compromise. It cannot be done by just condemning one side, because they also have certain valid grounds for indulging into this sort of an act.
Okay, I'd like Mr. Bitterlich to please respond. If you can hear me, please, sir.
Yes, I can
yes,
hear
sir.
you
From Normandy, please. You're hearing this debate and you were obviously keenly following it. Yes, please.
And what's your question?
My question is, what is your view? Our view is that India has taken a very practical position. What is your take on it?
I think India is not responsible for that war. India, who is responsible in that situation? And what should be the position of a so-called non-aligned country? India, the big country of non-alignment. Responsible is first of all Russia. It's a war, it's an aggression against an independent state. Second, who is responsible too for the situation we have with regard to Ukraine? And there is an American responsibility, yes. 2008, launching NATO accession to Ukraine has been what I call the red line for the Russians. And since then, I think the Western world should have reacted to this in practice. But when I see on the one side the war, and on the other side the overall geopolitical development, it's not up to India to realign or to join the US, no. Please look at another one who would like to be much nearer to you and with you in the debates. It's Europe. Europe had its difficulties with the debate with the situation in Ukraine and with the development in the last years. Yes, it's clear. But today, what we have to do is to condemn such a warfare as the Russians use it, bombing hospitals, bombing schools, etc. And therefore, Russians should stop this immediately. And I think even a non-aligned country, and even a prominent non-aligned country, should call upon the Russians or upon Putin. I think Modi could do it, to urge Putin to stop this war and to come back, let's say, to the table of negotiations. Because who is suffering from this? As always, it's the civil population. And what's happening there, it's the old Russian warfare we know from the past, but they should stop it immediately and come back to the table of negotiations. And what should be, it's the status of the Ukraine, which doesn't want to be part of the new Russia. They want to remain independent in a certain way. And the second thing is what should be the overall European security architecture. This is the debate. And therefore, I don't ask for a realignment of India. No, India remains non-aligned, but I think has to condemn such a warfare and urge the Russians to stop it. It's not in alignment to the US.
While you were, we got this news, Joachim Bitterlich, we just got this news that the next round of talks may happen on the 7th. My concern, however, is about whether there is any room for negotiation anymore. While we discuss India's position, my concern is, and I'd like to go to Yulia Klimenko, who's a member of parliament from Ukraine, that is there any room for a negotiation anymore? Just taking away from the debate on India, is there room for a negotiation anymore? You know, where is the humanitarian corridor? Is Russia really following the ceasefire agreement? Mariupol's deputy mayor says the Russians are continuing to bomb and use artillery. It's crazy, he says. There is arguments that Russia is breaking the ceasefire agreement, postponing the evacuation of civilians, that it's trying to sabotage the negotiations in the guise of a ceasefire. There's an atmosphere of a lot of mistrust. Nobody trusts anyone in this, and that's why I feel the West should come and have a direct negotiation, perhaps, with the Russians. Yes, please. Yulia Klimenko, please.
Good evening. I would like, first of all, do a few comments. First of all, for 10 days of war, 30 kids were killed in the center of Europe. More than 100 were injured in the center of Europe. We are not on an island. We are located in the center of Europe, and the war is very close to the borders of Europe for the whole continent that we are located. So saying that this is a war between Russia and Ukraine, it's a very narrow understanding of the situation. It's not a war between Russia and Ukraine. It's a war on values. It's a war on a much bigger scale of the geopolitical shift. And you will see geopolitical shift, also Asia will see it very, very soon, because Russia will not probably survive in this war as a Russia, as a strong Russia. The economy is dropping dramatically, Russian economy. It's disappearing from the world. It will be North Korea, and then you will need to deal with China, not with Russia, because as India has very sentiment to the Soviet Union, but Russia is not Soviet Union. It's it's a different country. And coming back to your questions, yes, I think there is room for discussion, because the Ukrainian army is much stronger than the Russia thought. And now, actually, we are doing well in many cities of Ukrainian cities, pushing back Russian army. They already lost more than 10,000 soldiers. I don't know why they are doing it, sending these young guys to our land. But these soldiers are looking very unskilled and unprofessional. So most of the equipment, tanks, BTRs, etc., left on in our land, and in very bad conditions. It's sometimes it's broken, sometimes it's the army is the Russian army. This is the second more powerful army in the world, looking honestly very weak and poor. So coming back to that yes, I think we have a room. Unfortunately, Russians do not accept and do not stick with the humanitarian corridors we agreed for today. For today, we agreed to evacuate only civilians from the Mariupol and from the Donetsk region, and they start firing just in the moment when women and kids were leaving were evacuating in the buses. So what are you talking about? About what country? It's a terroristic country. It's bombing kids, it's bombing women, and mostly civilians. They cannot kill our army, our soldiers, but that's why they are bombing and terrorizing civilians, women and kids. I think this is a terroristic country, and if you are staying with this country and supporting this country, you are unfortunately in the group of these countries like North Korea and any other
but Yulia,
democratic country.
No, but Yulia,
yes.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. See, we didn't start this war.
Yes. Exactly.
We didn't. You ask America. America started the war. America should take a stand. What have we got to do? It's your battle. It's your battle. No, 1 second. I'll tell you. The way I look at it is simple. The way I look at it is simple. You see, please understand. Did India or the United States decide to raise military tensions in Ukraine?
No.
No. Russia seized Crimea. One second. Russia seized Crimea.
Exactly.
Who gave the lethal weaponry? Who gave the anti-tank missiles worth $1.5 billion to Ukraine? Did India give? No. America gave. Now go to America. No, then ask the Americans. They were the ones who let them solve it.
Don't worry. We will fight by ourselves.
See, that is somewhere where you're
not fighting.
Jitendra Oja is. You see, they are making you believe this. They are making you believe this. They are making you believe that you will fight. You see,
your Indian student was killed in Ukraine, if you don't know.
Yes, well, you don't need to tell me. That's why I am saying that this fighting must stop. But I am asking you very clearly here, did India or the US lead months-long so-called negotiations with Putin ahead of the breakout of the war? And my point here is, let's talk very clear tonight. It was your responsibility. Biden had the talks with Putin. Why get India into this? You talk. Your talks broke.
It's not
No. Your talks broke.
India in
you tried to get strategic. No. Why are you coming to India? What do we have to do with it? It's your war. It's your war.
About to take
I don't understand this. I'll get Jitendra Oja on this.
Unfortunately, do not turn it all around.
Okay, 1 second, please.
So it's not about you will fight
Jitendra Oja,
it's about
the
your
West
choice.
Okay, so the West.
Can I
Jitendra
speak?
Oja, open the debate.
This lady to stop, please.
Yeah, go on.
Look, this is geopolitics is not about public spectacle. The whole war, whether war in Russia or it's America's exit from Afghanistan or the monster named China they have created, all these are reflections of failure of American national security strategy. As far as this war is concerned, we realize that a weak Russia is not in our interest, and we have never supported war. We do not support war. But if American experts, they are very wise, I don't know why their wisdom does not get translated into their policy initiatives. What we are witnessing at this point of time, further warmongering. Look, we need goodwill of both America and Russia. We cannot be rooted in history. We realize a lot of wrong things have been done by America, and they realized only much later that they needed friendship with India. Right now, they should treat India as a dignified partner, and they should stop acting as a patron, because they have been messing up policies for themselves. And right now, Arnab, we think our immediate priority has to be to bring a ceasefire. And for bringing a ceasefire or whatever, I think America should encourage India to take this kind of the dialogue, maybe back-channel dialogue with both President Putin and maybe Ukraine.
Absolutely.
They should trust us.
No,
we are not against the people of Ukraine. We stand for peace. By any chance, if we antagonize Russia further, we are going to face whom? Russia, China, Pakistan, and a whole range of these things. And as far as America is concerned, they should also realize the whole thing is about a secure and stable world. But somehow they are dictated by, supremacy of West over the rest. That agenda must not be there. They must not dictate. They have failed at several places. Their democracy has been showing a lot of failures and fissures, and they have to mind their democracy. They have to fix their own policies rather than putting India in corner. I think this is a very wrong debate, and I'm appalled by intellectual poverty of this professor and the first speaker, Mr. Charles, also. Look, geopolitics is not about theory and history and not about emotion. India has to protect its people. India is a stable and a responsible country in this region, and world looks up to us. So it's very important at this point of time that we do not peddle agenda of the West. We act with responsibility and maturity, and it's very important. I have always been advocating at every channel, Arnab, that we have to take initiative to contribute to this thing and bring about some ceasefire, and everything in diplomacy, Henry Kissinger also says, cannot be discussed in media. Everything may not be there in public domain. But I think it's very wrong and myopic approach of this professor and this other gentleman that they are trying to come out with these things. We support peace. We do not subscribe to war, and I'm sure my government would be doing something or the best it could do to bring about peace.
Please. Could I respond to this, please?
Either of you could.
If you ask about the roots
Charles, please. Yeah, Charles,
of this conflict, right, it's not that the United States was arming Ukraine or threatening Russia. It all goes back to 2014, when there was a grassroots revolution that toppled a pro-Russian regime There was a new democracy in Ukraine. Russia then decided that it didn't want to see Ukraine emerge as a stable democracy oriented toward the West, and it therefore annexed Crimea and started a war in Donbass that has killed 14,000 people. All that we're not asking India to go to war. We're not asking India to get involved. We're asking India to stake a moral stand against a war of aggression, an imperial attack against a neighbor that flies in the face of all the values that India professes it stands for. Come on, folks.
Okay,
this is
Charles,
an easy one.
Charles,
get off the fence.
Charles, just 1 minute. I'll say one thing to you. See, Charles, come on, get real, and don't put falsehoods on air on my program. Please do not say we did not arm Ukraine. Of course you did. That's all you did.
Of course we did.
Of course you did, and all you did. Allow me to complete, Charles. I didn't intervene till you finish. I didn't intervene till you finish, but now I will. No, but I will.
Why don't you?
But you don't want to hear, Charles. Charles, I want to counter you. Charles, I want to destroy your argument. May I please have the privilege of doing so? Thank you so much. I'm only responding to a factual mistake you made here. I have absolutely every right. My point is, you did. And your president, Donald Trump, was the American president. He approved the license for your Ukraine to buy arms. He approved billions of dollars of export of weapons. And there were warnings then. You were warned then. Please don't do this. This is going to put Putin on the warpath. This is not, allow me to complete my point. Please, Charles. Please, Charles, I won't take long. I won't take long, Charles. I won't take long. I won't take long. All I'm saying is, you started the fire. You approved the war arms supplies. You gave billions of dollars of arms to Ukraine. And then you said, let's sit down and talk. Then the talks failed. And now you want the whole world to come to your rescue. Probably the whole world will. But it's your problem, not ours primarily. That's what I'm saying. It's your problem. It's your creation.
The fire started in
I'll get General Bakshi to respond.
When there was a democratic revolution.
Okay, since I'm democratic.
Russia invaded.
Since I'm democratic.
Can I just say?
No, 1 minute. I'm caught in this. I want one at a time, please, because I want to give everyone their turn. And I want GD Bakshi to respond, and then I'll get Professor Sked into the debate. And gentlemen, please, this is the kind of debate the world should have. For far too long, the Western media, which has had a biased, prejudiced, hegemonistic view of the world, has not seen these debates. It would open the eyes of people across the world if they did. General Bakshi, please. Yes, General Bakshi, and then the Professor Emeritus from LSE. Yes, please. General Bakshi.
Look, talking of moral arguments, I think it is morally outrageous for the United States, for NATO, to egg the Ukrainians on to fight, to poke Russia in the eye, and when Russia retaliates, to vanish from the scene. Refuse to put any troops on the ground, refuse any, no-fly zones, whatever. Did you hear that Ukrainian lady harangue your Mr. Boris Johnson? I hope you heard that interview. You cannot establish yourself as a bridgehead for the destabilization of another country and hope that you will not suffer the consequences. Are you aware, Professor, that the American Department of Defense and DARPA had set up 6 biological warfare laboratories in Ukraine, that one of them was working on bat coronaviruses, and the Russians claim that they have used their thermobaric weapon against that to fry up the viruses. Now, would you call that a very moral posture to take? The Russians are claiming,
I'd call it Russian propaganda, which you swallowed wholesale.
The Russians are claiming that the Ukrainians were diverting fissile material from their nuclear reactors. Would you sit back in Iran? Would you sit back in Iran? It's a sign of a very weak argument, Professor Higgins, to keep continually talking and trying to drown out the other voice. I thought the British were more reserved.
And after his lies came the
honestly, I thought you were more open to a rational debate, argument, counterpoint. But you insist on speaking over anybody else, especially if the argument is inconvenient to you.
Of Ukraine.
And may I remind you,
have you heard the argument?
Russian dictator.
Have you heard the facts?
All your arguments.
You put up 6 biological warfare.
Okay, 1 second, General Bakshi, 1 minute. General Bakshi, 1 minute. General Bakshi, 1 minute. 1 minute, just 1 minute. See, Professor Alan Sked, let's be very realistic tonight. Let's not go ballistic. It is the stocks of American arms manufacturers which have gone through the roof. You know how much money American and one British arms defense manufacturing company is going to make? It is going to go into the trillions. So please let me tell you. No, anything that I say cannot, the answer can't be a facetious, oh please. Oh please is not a reply. Since when does oh please qualify as a reply? Oh please is not a reply.
You have to, you're justifying an invasion by Russia because
I am placing a fact, I am justifying nothing. I am placing a fact that American defense manufacturers are going to make trillions. Are you not aware of the American arms?
You seem to have childish, infantile arguments.
You see, the point is you are not able to respond factually to a single point I am making. I thought that you will come with some counterpoints. I can also call you infantile. I can call you childish. I can call you unstudied, I can call you unresearched, I can call you unprepared for this debate. I can say that you're not being able to give me historical precedent, and I can also say that maybe it is the substantial points I'm making which you're not being able to reply. To which, Professor, you can say, Arnab, your points are too solid, I can't respond to you. Counter me. I'm telling you, Professor, counter me with facts.
Yes,
don't call me names.
Do you condemn the invasion or don't you? Yes or no?
Why don't you counter me with facts? Counter me with a single fact instead of making these simplistic arguments.
We watch it nightly.
By the way, Professor. No, 1 second. Professor Sked. Professor, 1 minute. 1 minute. I need to respond. Professor Sked, I'll incinerate your argument in 30 seconds, please, if you remain quiet and have the patience and moral spunk to listen to me. If you don't have the moral spunk to listen to me, you can say I will leave the debate. But if you do, then give me 30 seconds. It will take me just that much time to destroy your argument. I'll tell you one thing. You keep saying one thing. Do you condemn the invasion? Are you or not condemning the killings of innocents? Have you not seen what our permanent representative in the United Nations has said? Have you not seen that we've called for the immediate cessation of violence? Have you not seen that we've called for the respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states? Do you not agree that the territorial integrity must be respected, that violence must end? What is wrong with our position? We have sent the first tranche of humanitarian aid comprising medicines, medical equipment and relief material to war-torn Ukraine via Poland. You haven't. We have. We are not like Boris Johnson going and provoking people and then saying we will not get involved. We put our money and our heart where our mouth is. So you can't lecture me on that. And by the way, we will not take sides in a clearly brewing post-Cold War NATO bloc versus China-Russia Cold Bloc conflict, where each bloc is funding one side militarily. The battle is between your two blocs. You sort it out. You should sort it out now. I just want to go to Captain Alok Bansal. That's my view. We will give humanitarian aid. We will bring out our people. We will call for peace. You please stop fighting.
Will you be quiet? You said 30
Professor,
seconds.
I just wanted to tell you that how strong has been the provocation as far as Russia is concerned, that the chief of German Navy came to Delhi and said, what does Putin want? He wants just some respect. This war could be ended. For making this statement, the naval chief of Germany was actually sad. So this was the truth. even a Western military official, the highest ranking naval officer of the Germany said so. So there is a fact that for last so many years, there was a constant provocation that was taking place against Putin. And that has actually put him to a position where this sort of a violence has broken out. We have been condemning violence, we have been respecting the territorial integrity, and we have been asking both the parties to stop fight. But to unilaterally condemn only one side would be extremely wrong when both have committed some mistake. The negotiations will only succeed when NATO also participates in the negotiations.
The victim is equally responsible as the aggressor. It doesn't make sense.
Hello.
Yes.
I would like to say a few. I need to switch off, and would like to say to all of you: we are Ukrainians. We choose independence. We are not going to hear that we are not an object. We are a subject, and we will fight for our independence as much as we can. Yes, we may die, all of us, but we will. We are not asking you, all of you. It doesn't matter USA or India to treat or to say that we need to talk to Putin or not. We will decide by ourselves. You can stay without your opinions out of and take your opinions out, please. We are independent country. We will fight for our independence. And maybe we will die, but you will stay in this world with a geopolitical shift. And you will remember your historical facts for 100 years or 200 years back, and you will debate for many years. I can tell you this is not a discussion that Ukraine will be a subject or to object to negotiate with Putin. We will decide by ourselves. Okay, guys? Thank you.
Thank you. The negotiations are already on. The last reports are that they will.
Something, Arnab?
They will. I'll have to close because of want of time. Only for want of time. This debate is very, very hot, but it's for want of time. As of now, the headline is.
1 minute. I will.
Okay. Well, Okay. Very briefly, 10 seconds. Yes, please.
Yes. A weak Russia is not in our interest, Arnab, and this war is also not in the interest of Russia. We feel that this war has been rather imposed on the world because of flawed policy of some of our Western friends. We request them, we beseech them to fix their systems in such a way.
Okay, now that's okay. Jitendra Ojha, I thank you. I thank you. I have always said, on that I agree with you, the real beneficiary of the conflict eventually, ladies and gentlemen, even more than a military-industrial complex in America, is going to be China. And that's worrying. It's just shooting off Russia's shoulder. I shall see you tomorrow. Breaking news coming in. The talks will continue on the 7th. Ladies and gentlemen, see you tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.